The New Orleans Pelicans might be a sleeping giant, and my only question is, will they wake up in time? If you watch the Pelicans on a nearly daily basis like I do, you probably see one thing and the numbers tell you something completely different. If you watch this team in high leverage situations, how they end games, how they execute their offense, you're probably thinking this team is not that good. And you would be correct. Something I found that was appalling, honestly, even though the eye test told me this, but the numbers are even more staggering than I would have thought. This team in the first half has a net rating of 10.7, which would be the highest net rating in the NBA. The Celtics currently have a net rating of a 10.3, which is the highest in the NBA. If you look at first halves, only the Celtics are better than the Pelicans in the first half of games. But the Pelicans in the second half have a net rating of a negative 1.9. So they go from the second best team in the NBA in the first half to the 22nd best team in the NBA in the second half. And the funny thing about this is the team with the third best net rating in the first half is the Phoenix Suns, who also fall off to a negative 0.8 in the second half. And these teams I feel like are very similar. If you look at the top 10 teams in net rating, all of them have a top 10 net rating in the second half, besides the Pelicans and the Phoenix Suns. So what do you guys think the issue is there? I have a theory, right? I have a theory, probably the same theory as you guys. In the first half, everything's fine. They're just playing basketball. They're moving the ball around. But when things get tight, when they get into crunch time, there's no established pecking order. Same thing with the Phoenix Suns. Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, two amazing players coexisting, but all of a sudden at the end of a game, you need to know where you're going. You need to know who you're going to. And both of these teams really struggle with that. And I want you guys to listen to this clip from Antonio Daniels, who actually said this a couple weeks ago when the Pelicans were playing the Phoenix Suns. But he was talking about the Phoenix Suns. Ironically, I don't think he would have an answer to this question if he was talking about the New Orleans Pelicans.
He's trying to play back and get not only in shape, but in rhythm.
Right. Get back in rhythm with these guys. Again, when you think about big threes, roles have to be defined. You can't just have big threes and just go out there and say, go play and go win. Roles actually has to be a Batman, a Robin, and an Alfred.
So you take out a 30-year-old.
And this is a question I'm just not sure the Pelicans are ever going to find out before it's actually too late. And I know it's bigger than just these two players, but at the same time, it's not really bigger than these two players, because it's these two players that need to figure it out. And this is the reason why I've been so skeptical of the Pelicans the whole time. We know the talent they have, but we have not seen it where these two guys look like this amazing duo where they help optimize the other one. We haven't really seen that. They are dominant in the first quarter, but they progressively get worse throughout the game. And I understand it's more to that. It's coaching. There's a lot of things going on. But those two players, it's kind of, the Pelicans are kind of like the team that, a football team that comes out for the first few drives that has a game script, but when a team makes adjustments on them, they don't really have any answers for it. That's kind of the Pelicans. And this really shows up in clutch situations where the Pelicans go from 18th in the NBA in turnovers per game to second in clutch time. This team clearly doesn't know what their plan is. So when I call them a sleeping giant, I think we all can see how this team can be awakened, I guess, to put it. It's gonna have to be Brandon Ingram accepting something that he doesn't want to accept. And how could you blame him for not wanting to accept it? And the reason why you have to say Brandon Ingram is because he can do these things that Zion simply can't. Well, I shouldn't even say that. I can't even give Zion that pass, because Zion should be a lot better off ball. He should be a more active cutter, a more active screener, but that appears not to be how Zion wants to play. Zion wants to be at the top of the key with the ball in his hands with the floor space. Now, I'm not sure that's going to be a recipe for success when it comes playoff time, but right now, that is when the Pelicans look their best. And as far as the fourth quarter in particular, it's hard to find a statistical category that really jumps off the page to why they struggle so much. But something that definitely jumps off the page is the fact that Brandon Ingram is only shooting 20% from three in the fourth quarter this year. And this number cannot be right. I'm actually gonna take a break from this recording and come back to verify this number if it's true. If it's not true, you're probably not hearing this. But Brandon Ingram has only made 7 threes in the fourth quarter this year. That's crazy. And that's really crazy because the last game they just played against the Wizards, he'd made 2 in the fourth quarter. So you're telling me he only had 5 in the fourth quarter before that last game? Listen, I don't have the time to go through and verify if that's true, but StatMuse is telling me Brandon Ingram has only made 7 3-pointers in the fourth quarter this year. The Pelicans are not going anywhere if that's the case, and I hate that it always comes back to Brandon Ingram being the one that has to change his game, but he's a good shooter that won't shoot the three, and that's the only way this is going to work. The only way Point Zion works to its fullest capabilities is Brandon Ingram embracing shooting the basketball. He's made 21 in first quarters, that drops to 13 in second quarters, then he's made 30 in third quarters, and only 7 in fourth quarters. And this might be a reach, but I'm pretty sure the first quarter and third quarters are the longest leash Brandon Ingram has without Zion on the court with him, because Zion checks out pretty early in that first quarter. And all of a sudden, Brandon Ingram is just taking pull-up threes now, which is great, you know, I love that shot, but he's still not taking the catch and shoot ones, which really defeats the purpose of him spacing the floor with Zion. So there's a lot going on. And like I said, I hate bringing it to Brandon Ingram every single time, but he's the one with the skill set to be anything he wants to be on the court, but he just doesn't want to shoot the ball. And if you look at the most plausible things that can happen for this team to reach the next level, it's Brandon Ingram shooting threes. That's the most, you know, realistic thing that could happen. It's not going to be Zion all of a sudden being this amazing off-ball player, becoming this amazing screener. That's not going to happen in this last 30 games. CJ's not going to become a better defender in these last 30 games. Zion's not going to develop a mid-range jumper in these last 30 games. Jonas Valanciunas is not going to become a sniper in these last 30 games. What can happen though is Brandon Ingram can shoot 40% from three on 6 attempts per game, because we've seen him do it. And like I just said to you guys earlier, I'm not fully convinced that Point Zion is the way to go. I'm not sure how that's going to work against a playoff defense. At some point, Zion is going to have to develop some counters. At some point, he's going to have to use his right hand. At some point, he's going to have to get a floater, get a jump shot. And in all the Point Zion talk, as we accentuate the positives about it, it should be noted that it's a little bit disappointing that Zion isn't all these other amazing things we thought he would be off the ball. He's not the great screener we thought he could be. He's not the high flyer like Amari Stoudemire or Blake Griffin or Sean Kemp, players he was being compared to. Yes, he's probably going to be better than those players, although Amari Stoudemire was amazing. Prime Blake Griffin, MVP candidate. We haven't seen Zion have enough of a prolonged stretch of games yet to say that, but he's probably going to be better than those players. Those players made the game easier for their teammates in a different way than Zion, and I'll leave it right there because I'm going to make another video about Zion and how he's not the player we all expected him to be. The player we expected Zion to be would be an amazing fit with Brandon Ingram. And I'm not even trying to say one is better or worse. I'm just saying Zion is a completely different player than the one we thought we were getting out of Duke. But I'm going to leave it there for now. Again, the Pelicans in the first half of games have a net rating that would be the best in the NBA. They have the second best net rating in the first half of games, only behind the Celtics. But in the second half, they drop all the way down to the 22nd best team in the NBA. Again, this team could be anybody, but will they figure it out in the second half? You guys can tell by my tone, I don't really think so. But you guys let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm out. Peace.